In the summer of 2008, the world watched as Gotham City was torn apart by chaos, corruption, and one of the most unforgettable villains ever put on screen. The Dark Knight, directed by Christopher Nolan, wasn't just another superhero film. It was a game changer that redefined what comic book movies could be. With Christian Bale as Batman and the late Heath Ledger delivering a haunting, Oscar-winning performance as the Joker, the film became an instant classic. But behind the scenes, things were just as wild as they were on screen. From Heath Ledger's immersive preparation to risky stunts performed without CGI to strange on-set challenges that tested the cast and crew, the making of The Dark Knight is filled with shocking facts that even die-hard fans may not know. So let's dive into Gotham's shadows and uncover 20 shocking behind-the-scenes facts you didn't know about The Dark Knight.
Assuming, of course, that they are still your people and not Maroni's.
Fact number 1, Heath Ledger locked himself away to become the Joker. To prepare for his legendary role as the Joker, Heath Ledger locked himself away in a London hotel room for 6 weeks, cutting off nearly all outside contact. During this isolation, he kept a disturbing diary filled with scribbled thoughts, eerie phrases, and unsettling drawings. Everything from chaotic sketches of clowns to twisted ramblings meant to capture the Joker's fractured state of mind. He also used this time to experiment with the character's voice, testing different pitches, tones, and cadences until he found the unsettling mix of playfulness and menace that made his Joker so unique. That deep dive into the psychology of chaos allowed Ledger to create a performance that felt raw, dangerous, and entirely unpredictable. Every twitch, laugh, and pause carried the weight of that preparation. The end result wasn't just another comic book villain. It was a portrayal so haunting and layered that it redefined how audiences and filmmakers approached movie antagonists. Ledger's Joker didn't just steal scenes, he changed the standard for what a cinematic villain could be. That unforgettable performance didn't just captivate audiences, it drew them in droves.
Let's go, pal! I'm making a withdrawal here.
Fact number 2, The Dark Knight smashed box office records in days. Alongside Spider-Man 3 in 2007 and Pirates of the Caribbean: Dead Man's Chest from 2006, The Dark Knight became one of the fastest films ever to cross the $100 million mark, achieving the feat in just 2 days. What made the accomplishment even more remarkable was that it wasn't simply riding on anticipation. It delivered on the hype. Thanks to its record-breaking opening day, it managed to hit the milestone even faster than both of those massive blockbusters, setting a new benchmark for superhero films. Audiences rushed to theaters in record numbers, with many screenings selling out days in advance. IMAX showings in particular were in such high demand that some theaters ran 24-hour schedules just to keep up. The momentum didn't slow down after its opening weekend either, proving that the film had the rare combination of critical praise, repeat viewings, and cultural buzz, strong enough to carry it into box office history. For Warner Bros., it was more than a success. It was proof that superhero films could dominate global cinema on the same scale as any major franchise. But breaking records wasn't the only way this film stood apart. It also reinvented Batman himself.
One man or the entire mob? He can wait.
When the new DA hears about this, he'll want in.
Do you trust him?
Fact number 3, the Batsuit was redesigned for the first time. The Batsuit in The Dark Knight marked a major breakthrough for the franchise. For the first time in Batman's long cinematic history, the suit was engineered with separate pieces rather than being one rigid mold. This change may seem small, but it completely altered how Christian Bale could move on screen. In earlier films, actors like Michael Keaton were forced to turn their entire torso just to look sideways, which gave Batman an almost robotic stiffness. Director Christopher Nolan wanted a sleeker, more tactical version of the suit, something that felt designed by a billionaire vigilante who valued practicality as much as fear. The updated design included over 200 individual components made from rubber, urethane, and lightweight mesh. This gave the suit a segmented, armored look that resembled modern military gear, helping Batman feel like a real-world urban soldier rather than a comic book statue. But the innovation came at a price. The suit was still incredibly heavy, weighing over 30 pounds, and the layers trapped heat, leaving Bale drenched in sweat during long filming days. Even with its drawbacks, the suit allowed for freer movement and helped redefine Batman's image for a more grounded, realistic era of superhero films. But Bale wasn't the only one dealing with uncomfortable gear. Heath Ledger also endured it during filming.
I only have one question. Where is Harvey Dent?
Fact number 4, the Joker's makeup was designed to look messy. Unlike the polished, almost theatrical look of most comic book villains, Heath Ledger's Joker was deliberately designed to appear messy, chaotic, and unsettling. The filmmakers wanted him to feel less like a stylized character and more like someone who had smeared on war paint before stepping into battle. Instead of using precise brushes, the makeup team applied his white face paint and blackened eyes with their fingers, old sponges, and even strokes. This gave the look a gritty, imperfect texture that cracked, flaked, and smeared under the hot studio lights. What made it even more convincing was Ledger's own input. He often rubbed at the makeup during takes, smudging it in ways that reflected the Joker's manic energy and disregard for appearances. Some days the makeup looked worn down, other times more heavily caked on, just as it might if the Joker had been wearing the same grime for days. The result was a visual extension of the character's personality, anarchic, unpredictable, and disturbingly real. Instead of looking like a comic book villain, Ledger's Joker looked like someone who could actually exist in the darkest corners of the real world. Speaking of realism, Nolan was determined to keep the film grounded, even in action scenes.
He missed!
Fact number 5, the truck flip was 100% real. One of the most jaw-dropping stunts in The Dark Knight comes when Batman manages to flip an 18-wheeler truck in the middle of Gotham's streets. In an era when most directors would have leaned on CGI to pull off something so massive, Christopher Nolan refused to take the easy route. He wanted audiences to feel the danger, so he insisted on doing the stunt practically. The crew engineered a powerful piston and rigged it underneath the truck, timed perfectly to launch the vehicle backward into a dramatic somersault. Pulling it off was no small feat. It was risky, expensive, and required shutting down part of Chicago's street for the sequence. The truck flipped with such violent force that even veteran stunt coordinators admitted they held their breath during the attempt. The deafening crash echoed through the city, making it feel every bit as real as it looked on screen. In the end, the gamble paid off. The shot became one of the film's most iconic moments, a testament to Nolan's dedication to practical effects and his refusal to settle for artificial spectacle. And that wasn't the only scene where Nolan rejected CGI. Fact number 6, the hospital explosion was filmed in one take. When the Joker blows up Gotham General Hospital, what audiences saw wasn't miniatures, green screen, or computer trickery. It was a real building brought down in a controlled demolition. Nolan's team found an old candy factory scheduled for demolition, gutted it, and transformed it into the Gotham Hospital. The structure was wired with hundreds of pounds of explosives, and the crew had just one shot to capture it perfectly. Everything had to be timed with precision: cameras, detonators, and even Ledger's performance. In true Joker fashion, something unexpected happened. When Heath Ledger pressed the detonator, there was a brief pause as the explosives hesitated to trigger. Instead of breaking character, Ledger brilliantly improvised, tapping, smacking, and fiddling with the remote as if the Joker was simply toying with the chaos. Seconds later, the delayed charges ignited, sending the entire building collapsing in a thunderous wave of fire and dust. That unscripted moment gave the scene a darkly comic edge, making it one of the most unforgettable sequences in the film. The fact that it was all captured in one take only adds to its legendary status. But Ledger wasn't the only one improvising.
It's gone.
Fact number 7, the pencil trick was done practically. The infamous magic trick scene where the Joker slams a thug's head into a pencil to make it disappear remains one of the film's most shocking moments. Unlike many modern blockbusters, Nolan refused to use CGI for the gag. Instead, the stunt team designed a clever practical trick. The pencil was anchored upright for the setup, but it was rigged to snap back and vanish at the exact instant before impact. The timing had to be razor sharp. The stuntman lunged forward with full force, and if the move was even slightly off, it could have caused a serious injury. What makes the moment so effective is its raw simplicity. There's no fancy cut, no obvious sleight of hand, just a brutal sudden burst of violence that feels uncomfortably real. Nolan wanted the audience to flinch, to believe they'd actually seen a man impaled on a pencil, all without resorting to digital trickery. Combined with Ledger's chilling performance, the scene set the tone for the Joker's terrifying unpredictability and reminded audiences that under Nolan's vision, Gotham was a place where danger felt tactile, physical, and alarmingly plausible. That same dedication to realism extended far beyond small moments. Fact number 8. The Dark Knight's massive vehicle destruction count. Many different vehicles met their end during the making of The Dark Knight. Some were smashed in high-speed crashes, others riddled with bullets, and more than a few were blown to pieces in fiery explosions. The destruction ranged from rows of Gotham City police cars to hulking armor trucks, each one sacrificed in the name of creating authentic chaos on screen. Christopher Nolan's insistence on practical stunts meant that audiences weren't just watching computer-generated carnage. They were seeing real machines collide, flip, and burn. That dedication gave the chase sequences, especially the unforgettable truck flip, a visceral realism that digital effects alone could never match. The scale of destruction wasn't just for spectacle. It was part of Nolan's larger vision to ground Gotham in a world that felt tangible, dangerous, and alive. By the end of filming, the wreckage left behind was proof of just how far the production was willing to go to immerse viewers in its gritty, explosive universe. That same philosophy carried over to the way Nolan approached the film's visual style.
We didn't use any green screens, so when we were shooting inside a spaceship.
Fact number 9. Nolan refused to use green screen. Unlike most blockbusters of its era, The Dark Knight steered clear of heavy green screen work. Christopher Nolan was determined to ground Gotham in the real world, so instead of endless digital backdrops, he relied on practical sets and real city locations. Much of the film was shot on the bustling rooftops and gritty streets of Chicago, where the architecture naturally doubled for Gotham's towering skyline and shadowed alleys. To heighten the scale, Nolan used massive IMAX cameras, bulky, noisy, and difficult to maneuver, but capable of capturing breathtaking cityscapes in stunning clarity. This choice gave audiences a Gotham that felt tangible, a place you could almost step into. It demanded far more effort from the crew, who had to orchestrate elaborate setups in real environments, but the reward was unmistakable. Instead of looking like fantasy, Gotham became a living, breathing city, a character in its own right. And speaking of IMAX, Nolan pushed new limits with his cameras.
You know, I'll settle for his loved ones.
We're not intimidated by thugs.
Fact number 10. IMAX cameras kept breaking. The Dark Knight made history as the first major film to use IMAX cameras for large-scale action sequences, a decision that completely changed how blockbusters were shot. The cameras were massive, fragile, and so loud that actors often had to redeliver dialogue later in post-production. Still, Nolan insisted on using them because he wanted audiences to feel the overwhelming scale of Gotham and its chaos. The downside? They were notoriously temperamental. During a high-speed chase sequence, one IMAX camera was completely destroyed in a collision, an accident that cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. Nolan, unfazed, simply remarked that the spectacular shot they captured made the loss more than worth it. That fearless dedication to practical spectacle helped cement the film as a technical landmark. And while the technology was groundbreaking, not everyone was thrilled about the filming process.
Spat in the faces of Gotham's criminals.
Fact number 11. Michael Caine forgot his lines because of Ledger. During the scene where Joker crashes Bruce Wayne's party, Michael Caine was supposed to deliver dialogue as Alfred. But when Ledger walked in fully in character, Caine was so unnerved that he completely forgot his lines. Instead of ruining the take, Nolan loved the genuine shock and kept it. Ledger's intensity wasn't limited to his co-stars. It also shook the crew.
A guy like me. Look, listen.
Fact number 12. Ledger stayed in character on set. Heath Ledger became legendary for his intensity that he poured into his role, and part of that came from how fully he lived as the Joker, even when the cameras weren't rolling. Between takes, he stayed in character, pacing the set in full costume, muttering lines under his breath, and sometimes bursting into unsettling laughter that startled crew members. He would crack twisted jokes, toy with props, or sneak up on people just to keep them off balance. This immersive method blurred the line between performance and reality, creating an atmosphere of constant tension. While some found it unnerving, others believe it fueled the raw unpredictability that made his Joker unforgettable. Ledger's commitment ensured that when the cameras rolled, every moment felt alive, dangerous, and impossible to predict. And that unpredictability came through in little ways, like how he handled props.
Like me. They need you right now.
Fact number 13. The clapping scene was improvised. When Gordon is officially promoted to commissioner, the camera cuts to Joker locked away in his cell. Instead of sitting still, Heath Ledger did something completely unexpected. He began clapping slowly, keeping his face unreadable and his eyes locked on the action. This chilling off-script gesture wasn't in the script or discussed with Nolan beforehand. The moment immediately shifted the energy on set. The cast and crew froze, unsure whether to break or continue. But Ledger's unsettling rhythm carried the scene. It ended up being one of the most haunting, iconic shots in the film, cementing the Joker as a character who always disrupted the world around him, even in silence. But while Ledger's improvisations were brilliant, not everything went smoothly.
You know, for a while there, I thought you really were a dent.
Fact number 14, Bale and Ledger actually got hurt. During the infamous interrogation scene, Christian Bale encouraged Heath Ledger to push the limits, telling him not to hold back. Ledger took the advice seriously, throwing himself into the role with frightening intensity. He slammed his body against walls, thrashed violently against the table, and absorbed real punches from Bale to make the moment as believable as possible. The physical toll was real. Both actors walked away with bruises and minor injuries, but the authenticity it created was worth it. The scene crackles with raw energy, feeling less like acting and more like two forces colliding. It perfectly captured Batman's desperation and the Joker's chaotic defiance, becoming one of the most unforgettable confrontations in comic book movie history. And those stunts weren't the only things putting the actors at risk. Fact number 15, the Batpod was a beast to control. Batman's sleek motorcycle, the Batpod, looked amazing on screen, but it was a nightmare to drive. The design had no handlebars in the traditional sense, forcing stuntmen to use their shoulders for balance. Only a few people in the world were able to ride it successfully. Bale tried once, but admitted he couldn't control it. Vehicles in the movie were impressive, but sometimes they came at a cost.
I like this job. I like it.
Fact number 16, a stuntman died during filming. Tragically, stuntman Conway Wycliffe lost his life during a rehearsal for one of the film's high-speed car chase sequences. While performing a test run, his vehicle veered off course and crashed, cutting short the life of a respected professional who had dedicated himself to creating breathtaking stunts. The accident cast a heavy shadow over the production, reminding everyone involved just how dangerous practical filmmaking could be when real vehicles and real risks were in play. The loss was felt deeply among the cast and crew, many of whom had worked closely with Wycliffe on earlier projects. Christopher Nolan, who valued authenticity and practical stunts above all, made sure the film carried a heartfelt dedication to his memory in the closing credits. It was a somber reminder that behind the spectacle of movie magic are real people putting themselves on the line to bring those unforgettable moments to the screen. Despite the tragedy, the crew pressed forward, but the pressure was intense.
Maybe we could share one. You know, they'll be doubling up the rate this city's inhabitants are losing their minds.
Fact number 17, the cast rarely saw full scripts. Christopher Nolan was notoriously secretive while filming The Dark Knight. Determined to prevent leaks or spoilers from escaping to the press, he carefully controlled access to the script. Actors were only given the pages they needed for their own scenes, and even the main cast often had no idea how the entire story would unfold. This unusual method created a unique dynamic on set. For the performers, it meant they had to put complete faith in Nolan's vision, trusting that their pieces would eventually fit into the larger narrative. In many ways, the secrecy worked in Nolan's favor. It kept reactions genuine and performances fresh, since the actors started to discover character motivations and story twists only as they went along. That layer of unpredictability mirrored the film itself, where uncertainty and chaos defined Gotham's fate. And Nolan's secrecy extended beyond the set.
Wanna know how I got these scars? My father.
Fact number 18. Fake names were used during production. To keep filming under wraps and avoid attracting crowds in Chicago, Christopher Nolan used a clever trick. The production operated under the fake working title Rory's First Kiss, which sounded more like a quirky indie romance than a multi-million-dollar superhero blockbuster. Local residents and even many extras thought they were working on a small-scale film, never suspecting it was actually The Dark Knight. This disguise allowed the crew to shoot massive action scenes on real city streets without drawing overwhelming attention from paparazzi or die-hard Batman fans. It wasn't until the first trailers dropped that people realized the truth. Those mysterious film crews in Chicago hadn't been shooting a love story. They'd been bringing Gotham to life. But while fans didn't know, Nolan's team made sure to leave little surprises for them later.
We got you, you son of a bitch.
Fact number 19, the viral marketing campaign was huge. Before the film even hit theaters, Warner Bros. Built a groundbreaking viral campaign to stir up anticipation. They launched an alternate reality game that blurred the line between fiction and reality, scattering clues across websites, emails, and even real-world locations. Fans had to band together online to solve puzzles, track down hidden messages, and follow scavenger hunt-style leads planted in major cities. At the center of it all was the Joker, whose chaotic fingerprints were all over the campaign. Participants unlocked exclusive images, teaser clips, and even Joker-themed prizes that made them feel like they were part of Gotham's underground. The game drew in hundreds of thousands of players worldwide and built a sense of community and excitement, unlike anything Hollywood had tried before. By the time The Dark Knight premiered, it wasn't just another movie. It was already an event, and fans fully immersed in its world. But once the film began, it wasn't just the marketing that left audiences talking. It was the Joker himself.
Everything burns.
Fact number 20, why the Joker kept licking his lips. Heath Ledger's unsettling habit of licking his lips as the Joker wasn't originally scripted. The prosthetic scars he wore would often loosen during filming, and he developed the lip licking as a way to keep them in place. Over time, the quirk became a defining part of the Joker's eerie mannerisms, making his performance even more disturbing. And there you have it, 20 shocking behind-the-scenes facts about The Dark Knight. From Heath Ledger's haunting preparation to practical stunts that pushed filmmaking to the edge, this wasn't just a superhero movie. It was a cinematic milestone built on dedication, risk, and lots of creative madness. Even after all these years, The Dark Knight remains one of the most celebrated films of its kind. It changed how we think about superhero movies and gave us one of the greatest performances ever put to screen. If you enjoyed this trip into Gotham's shadows, you'll definitely want to check out our video, Spider-Man: 20 Weird Facts You Didn't Know. It's packed with just as many wild behind-the-scenes stories. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you never miss another nostalgia countdown. And let me know in the comments what's your favorite moment from The Dark Knight, or which movie should I cover next. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.